Hi, this is Victor, the Director of Content with Bluedag. Today I'm going to show you how to create a custom finding within the system. Before we get started though, please be aware that not all the features that you're about to see are available at all subscription packages, so it does depend on what you've signed up for. Okay, so let's get started. I'll click here on findings. You'll see I've entered a finding here already. For example, I've entered clear floor space not provided. Due to as-built condition of missing, my finding says the XX is not accessible because there's not adequate clear floor space for an approach. So usually what I would have to do is edit, then come in here and fill in the blank to whatever element applied. Now let's say I'm running into this specific issue at a facility over and over and over again, and I don't want to fill this out every single time. So I have a couple options. First option, and the fastest and easiest option, is to click there, edit or change. Now when that loads, you'll see a couple buttons up here. Now this button, please ignore because most of you, or if not all of you, will not have this button. This is strictly for our admin users. But some of you might see duplicate to custom. So what does that mean? Well, let's go ahead and click it. And a new window will appear. Now this is the back end of the findings in the system. The system is going through all the standards, pulling the citations where this specific finding is associated to. As you can see here, this is a pretty broad finding, so it applies to many standards, and there are the citations. A couple things before we move on. This notes area, you can basically ignore. Those are internal notes. Essentially what happens when you duplicate to custom, it brings everything that is in the default system into a temporary window like this for you to make custom edits to. That unfortunately does mean some of the internal notes will come on over, but fortunately you'll see that the diagram came over, the budget ranges came over, also the citations that it's associated to come over. Back to my original dilemma. I don't want to fill this out every single time. So in here, I can go ahead and get rid of that and say lavatory. So now every time that I select my custom finding, it'll have the word lavatory in there instead of the blank. I can also take advantage of this time to include a recommendation. Please provide a clear floor space for the lavatory. This doesn't apply to all these standards. So I can get rid of some of them by clicking on this red X here. So for example, I'll get rid of this one. Or I can add new ones here. Now this is a custom standard that I created. I can add the citation there. If I click on this empty box, it will cascade open with the available citations for that standard. So I can just hover over one, click on one, and if I want to hover over that, and then it'll give me a text of what the actual citation says. I can add multiple citations. Now I can scroll up here. A couple things to note. Let's get back to our evaluation and see our original dropdown. Clear floor space not provided. And that's the end of the dropdown menu. So if I change this to something else, let's go to checkout aisle, aisle width, and you can see if there's more to the tiering, one will automatically appear. Now, as you can see, no additional tiering appeared. That means we're at the end. Now, the reason I point that out is if we go back here to clear floor space and not provided, that's it. That's the end of the road. So the system knows that's it. And it pulls the information that's required, the citation, up to the forefront, and we have our finding. So here, when creating a custom one, I can have identical drop-downs only once. So I can create this finding, go down, click Save. That means it'll say clear floor space, not provided, parentheses, C. So let's take a look at that. Save. Now it's saying, hey, the category and types, or the group and types you have selected already map to an existing master finding. Would you like to create a custom category for this master finding and save? And what that's asking and telling you, hey, you already have those dropdowns associated to a different finding. Do you want to do this? Now I hit yes. Here is a list of my custom findings. Here's the most recent one we created. And you can usually tell if you're in this custom finding view, or if you pull up a table of all the findings associated to your evaluation and you pull up the ID, you can usually tell what are customs by that long number there. You can click on that and it opens up your custom finding again and you can make edits. But now that I've created it, let's go back to the evaluation and refresh this page. Now I can go ahead and either create a new finding, let's just edit our existing one. I'll click edit, change. Now here in the drop-down menu, now you'll see I have it not provided, parentheses C. I'll select that. And all the custom changes that I made before appear. So my finding no longer has the blank space. It's actually filled out with what the element is. My barrier standard that I associated to it, now it applies. And my recommendation. Let's try this again. Let's go back to not provided, duplicate to custom. Now as this loads, again, we don't need any of this. We can take that off. Let's go ahead and make another one. Same thing, same element, laboratory. And again, a recommendation. This time, I want the recommendation to say, fix it. Keep my diagram. Actually, you know what? I don't want this to apply to anything other than California. So get rid of all these. Anything that's not California, get rid of that. One more. So this was my California only finding. So now we have a clear floor space, not provided. And now let me go ahead and save. You saw a little bit of movement up here, but nothing really happened. See, now we're getting a warning. A master finding already exists with this group and mapping. And now it can't create this custom C because it already did it for us once. So like I said, you can have the exact same tiering of something that's already in the system only once. And the way that it will look like, it'll look exactly like this. Not provided or not provided parentheses C. I can't have a third not provided parentheses C again. Now the system will not know exactly where to go and what finding to pull. Okay, so if I want to save this finding, what do I do? If I add another subtype by clicking the plus button here to the right, it'll let me add it. Save. The category addition would result in inaccessible master finding. Please select or create a different parent category. contact support for more information. So what is this telling us? So since this is the end of this tree branch, let's say, I can't add more to that branch. So in order for me to save this California only finding, I have to change one of these two parent dropdowns before I can add a third one. So what I could do is click the plus button there and add not provided custom. So now this would create a completely new branch that I can add many subcategories to. Click save. Now that I click save, you can see I can click this yellow button to edit, the red X to delete it, or the plus button here to add a new dropdown completely. Now, I don't have those options here because this was already a default dropdown in the system. And when you're in the custom finding screen, you can't change anything that's in the default system. So feel free to go in here and mess around with it. You're not going to mess up anything in your system. But now that I have this parent as a custom, now I can add up to 3 subtypes. So now I can go in here and add that subtype that I wanted to add before. Click save. And now no alert, it just created it. Now if I wanted to, I can keep on going and get as specific as I can with up to 3 subtypes, and that's the limit. So now let's scroll down to here and save. And here is that California only one. You know, but I can't really tell that's a California only one. So let me go back in it by clicking on that. And once these load, then that's the group and type subtypes will load, and then we can make some edits. So let's go ahead and click the edit button here. Custom CA. Now I made an edit to it, so it's still the same finding, and I can click save. So let's close these windows up. Let's refresh our evaluation page. Let the screen load. Let's go back into our finding, click and edit, change. So now you see I have not provided with a parentheses custom, and a completely new dropdown type, not provided custom. Now that name could be anything. It just so happened that they both mean custom in this instance. So anything that differentiates from the standard default in the system, you'll have this parentheses C next to it. So this is not default and this is not default. But as you can see, there's only a California citation appeared with the new recommendation, same element though, as I set it up. Let's go here and change it to my previous custom. There are other standards associated to this finding, a custom standard and the 2010 8AS, or the default finding in the system, which is the 2010 8AS and the California CBC. But let's say I don't want to do it this way for some reason. You can always go here to manage, down here to custom findings, and click that. Now you'll see the familiar screen of custom findings that we've been seeing for the past few minutes. We can go here to add new. And here you go. Here's a blank sheet, the blank canvas for you to go ahead and create your own finding from scratch. Now Bayer standard that we want to associate here, we'll go ahead and choose the 2019 CBC, 11B, and the 2010 ADAS. Okay, so now let's choose a citation. You can basically scroll down here and choose any citation within the system, or just go ahead and start typing 405.2. And that is for ramps. Again, 405.2. Now you can select the sharing from something that already exists. If you click on the drop-down menu, you'll see the options that are already in the system, and you can build off of those. Or you can click the plus button here next to the drop-down to start a completely new group. So since this is ramps, I'll go ahead and just scroll down till I see ramps. And you can see the next drop-down loaded up. Now I can select, like I said before, from something that already exists. Or I could add one completely new with this plus button. Exceeds 8.3%. That's it. So if there's no more, just be aware that you can go ahead and save this one time. Like I said before, you can have the same tiering in a custom one time. Or you can go ahead and change that to is too steep or greater than 1 in 12. You can come down here to the finding area and create your finding. This ramp is bananas. Recommendation, don't do this again. What were you thinking? Budget range, again, as we went over before, figure, and so forth. And we'll go ahead and click save. And there's the new master finding. So now when we go to an evaluation, we just have to make sure that the evaluation has the barrier standards that we associated to that custom finding in order for it to be available. So let's go here and add a new finding. We'll go down to ramps. We'll go down to ramps, slope. Hey, there's our custom finding. And select that. Click save. There you have it. There's our custom finding with our custom text, our citations, recommendation, and so forth. So once again, you can create a custom finding from something that's already there by clicking edit on something that's existing, or selecting the drop-down menus from a different finding that you have in mind, and clicking the duplicate to custom button here, or hovering over here to manage custom findings, and then adding new. Thanks for watching.